Alright, so a b to the x is the equation, like that's the standard equation. A represents either the y-intercept or the starting value. So depending on the type of problem that you have, it might say what's the y-intercept, or it might say what value do you start with, and it's always the a value. B shows whether the graph is growth or decay, and growth is going up, decay is coming down. And so if b is greater than 1, so if that number right there is greater than 1, it is exponential growth. And a growth function looks like that. It starts leveled off and then comes up really fast. If b is a fraction or a decimal between 0 and 1, it is exponential decay. And it starts really big and then levels off. So it's just going down. So growth is going up, decay is coming down. And if you don't remember, you can always graph it in Desmos to look at it and say, well, what does my graph do? It goes up, oh, that's growth. It goes down, oh, that's decay. All right. So also, we can figure out what the percentage of growth or decay is. And to figure that out, you're just going to take the b value. Basically, you just subtract the b value from 1 and then multiply by 100. Now, depending on which way you subtract it, you might get a negative. But as long as you're just subtracting from 1, the negative really doesn't matter. If it's growth, it's b minus 1. If it's decay, it's 1 minus b. But all it does is if you do it backwards, it gives you a negative. So just don't use the negative in your answer. And then you multiply by 100 to make it a percentage. So let's look at this one right here. So first of all, 1/2 times 2 to the x. First question is it a growth or is it a decay? So I look at the number in the parentheses. That number's bigger than 1. So it's growth, because I'm looking at the 2. Alright, the rate or the percentage, this is where I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to subtract 1. And I'm going to multiply by 100. Or another way to think about it, instead of multiplying by 100, is move your decimal 2 places to the right, because you're trying to make it a percentage. If you multiply by 1 by 100 or move decimal over, it's 100%. So this particular equation is growing by 100%. Okay, the y-intercept, or the starting value, is the number at the beginning. So the y-intercept is 1/2. All right, number 2. Growth or decay. So there's not a parentheses, but there's basically a parentheses like that. There's not a number at the beginning, but that's okay. So the 0.3 is what I'm looking at. Is it growth or decay? Decay, because that number is less than 1. So I'm going to take 1 minus 0.3. You get 0.7. Multiply that by 100 or move the decimal over 2 places, and we get 70%. And I guess really we should have percentages here. So that was 100%, this was 70%. Alright, the y-intercept, it didn't have a number at the beginning, but we understand that that's 1 when there's not anything there, so our y-intercept is 1. Our starting value is 1. Okay, next one, growth or decay. I'm looking at that number in the middle, that 1.5. 1.5 is bigger than 1, so that's growth. I'm going to take that 1.5 and subtract 1. I get 0.5. Move your decimal over 2 places, or multiply by 100. So that's 50%. And then your y-intercept is your number at the beginning, which is negative 1. Now, basically that's the whole lesson. Just trying to figure out if it's growth or decay, what the rate is, and what the y-intercept is. Now there's a few problems down here, so let's look at them. A couple of them are kind of different just because they have like decimals or fractions or whatever. So especially I want to look at number 4. The number in the middle, that 2/3. That tells me about growth and decay. 2/3 is less than 1. So I know it's decay. I'm going to subtract the 2/3 from 1. So it's like I'm doing 1 minus 2/3. You can do it in the calculator. You'll get 1/3, or you'll get 0.333. So when you move your decimal over 2 places, or multiply by 100, you'll get 33.3%. And then your starting value, or y-intercept, however you want to call it, if you just want to call it the y-intercept, that's the number at the beginning, and that's 5. Just don't forget to multiply by 100 when you get the percentage. Remember that y-intercept could be called starting value. Let's look at number 7. Again, I just wanted you to see this fraction and talk about it. I don't know why there's a 4 right here, so that's probably not supposed to be there. But anyway, I'm looking at the 5/4. Now, just because it's a fraction doesn't mean it's decay. What you have to figure out is 5/4 bigger than 1 or not. And if you put it in the calculator, you'll get 1.25. 5 is bigger than 4, so I know that that fraction, even though it's a fraction, is actually bigger than 1. So this is a growth problem, even though maybe you didn't think so because of the fraction. You'll take 1 minus 5/4, and if you do it that way, it'll give you a negative, but that's okay. Just, you could do 5/4 minus 1 also, but you'll get 0.25. So that means it's growing by 25%. And it also means when you look at the beginning, our y-intercept is 5. If you get mixed up with subtracting 1, like whether you do it 1 minus or that number minus 1, just take off the negative. It's no big deal. And there's the answers for 8 and 9.